Wednesdays are for people's elbows, super kicks, and springboard cutters. You know what that means. It's the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast hosted by Michael Davis on Boom Broadcasting, and it's time to pick up that mic. Raw on Netflix debuted this past Monday night, and I'm sorry, diehard fans, it wasn't for you. This is the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Davis, right here on the Boom Broadcasting YouTube channel. And before I get into today's topic about Raw on Netflix and analyzing what we did see this past Monday night, I did want to just take a moment of reflection, man behind the mic style, and just say thank you. Because if you guys are familiar with my story, it wasn't long ago where I couldn't do podcasting. And it was mainly the fall of 23 where I had to take a hiatus, get myself better. And once I got healed, I was able to slowly do these podcasts, and Drop the Mic returned 1 year ago. And from that point now, it's night and day. I feel good. I feel great. I can sit here and do these podcasts, which, a lot of times we take for granted. So if you have been following Drop the Mic for the last year, I want to say thank you. I know we took a couple weeks off for the holiday, regroup, resettle, focus on family and friends. And I hope you guys did the same. And I also went to some wrestling events, particularly went to AEW Dynamite Fight for the Fallen in Asheville, North Carolina last week. Got to see finally, the guy formerly known as Edge, apparently formerly known as Adam Copeland, and now he is the rated R superstar Cope. And I do want to say this. By the way, AEW Dynamite did a really great job last night in Asheville. That line outside the door was wrapped around the entire building. It was quite the sight to see. Everybody standing there in the cold, ready to get into a warmer venue to support AEW. And AEW was supporting Hurricane Helene relief, and it was pretty cool to see. Especially knowing that Tony Khan originally for the HBO Max debut had a arena booked in a metropolitan area, and Adam Copeland, or Cope, whatever you want to call him, or Edge, he dropped the news that Tony Khan wanted this in the metro area, but once he started hearing about all the stuff happening in Western North Carolina and the hearts of Cope, the hearts of FTR, he decided to move it to January 1st, Asheville, North Carolina, and I am very, very impressed with Tony Khan making that decision. And a lot of people won't recognize him. A lot of people won't acknowledge Tony Khan, and it's the cool thing on the internet to bust his balls, if you will, and give him a hard time for AEW being an alternative product for WWE. I think that's a great thing. If you hear other wrestlers talk, then they understand the significance of there being other wrestling companies. Now, WWE is doing it on a level now that, nobody has seen, nobody has heard, and nobody could have imagined. And I'll talk about that here in a couple minutes. But the fact that we have AEW sets everything else up. With Tony Khan giving us AEW, that gave us an alternative product back in 2019. You can go back, if you're subscribed to HBO Max, you can go back and watch those pay-per-views and feel the energy, the excitement, because if you remember back in WWE, back in 2019, it was doom and gloom. We had Bobby Lashley and the Love Saga with Rusev, or Bobby Lashley and his sisters. I mean, there was just countless stories in WWE just felt flat. Scripts were getting right, 30 minutes before the show at best. Sometimes while the show was going on, there was no continuity between week to week to week. And AEW challenged that because AEW was like, hey, we're going to give fans an alternative product. We have the star power from either Japan or either from like the late 90s, early 2000s. Chris Jericho coming over, John Moxley, formerly known as Dean Ambrose, deciding to leave WWE, leaving who knows how much money on the table to come to AEW and be a part of this alternative programming. And also had Cody. You had Cody, not Cody Rhodes, because WWE had kept Rhodes from him. Cody was in AEW, and without Cody being in AEW, we don't get Cody's return to WWE in the spectacle that it was at WrestleMania 38, which means we don't get WrestleMania 39's main event, which means we don't get WrestleMania 40. And who knows the person to dethrone Roman Reigns, because when Roman started this run, we looked around and there were no stars made or built for Roman Reigns. So you might as well go ahead and say AEW built the star that would dethrone your tribal chief, your head of the table, Roman Reigns. So in all honesty, Tony Khan gets a lot of crap on the IWC. A lot of it is unwarranted. Now, is he perfect? No. Is Triple H perfect? No. Was Vince McMahon I ain't even going there. But Tony Khan, to provide the alternative programming, a solid number 2 in the wrestling industry, we don't get where we're at now without Tony Khan, without AEW. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, quit the tribalism, support and watch what you want to support and watch. And that's simple. For me, it's hard to watch NXT on Tuesday nights on a weekly basis. For me, it's even harder to watch Dynamite sometimes, or Rampage when it was running, or definitely Collision, just because of my schedule. I make time for Monday Night Raw. I make time for Friday Night SmackDown. And, when I can, I'll do AEW Dynamite. Could the stories be a little bit better? Yeah. Could some of the matches make a little more sense? Yeah. But you could say that about any product, any program out there. There's so much wrestling to consume. And now that it's not just WWE, it makes it all better. And that is how we are led to this past Monday, January 6th, Monday Night Raw on Netflix. Now, of course, I wanted to touch on this a little bit yesterday during Out of Pocket. But of course, the Raiders decided, hey, to change their mind in 24 hours and fired Antonio Pierce, the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, after one season, a 4-13 season, rather. And I was like, between that and ranking the playoff teams, I was like, there's no time to fit in Raw on Netflix. But you know what? I have a wrestling podcast. And you know what? For the first Drop the Mic of 2025, I have to talk about the first episode of Raw on Netflix. Now, I'll go ahead and share my personal opinion. I loved it. I enjoyed it. It was fantastic. It was great. How could you not enjoy it if you were stuck in your ways? That's how you couldn't have enjoyed it if you were stuck in your ways, if you were closed-minded in the way that you think wrestling should be, because you're either used to it or you want to play the booker. That's how you didn't enjoy it. But let me tell you why I did enjoy it and what their goal was. I hope this episode brings clarity on that subject. Well, let's go back. And you obviously heard my initial reaction on the nightcap of Monday Night Raw with Mouthing Off with Mike. That's available on demand through the Boom Broadcasting YouTube channel. We went a little over an hour because we were so hyped and so excited for what Raw on Netflix was. So if you want to hear a raw, unedited, instant reaction, that is where you can find it. on the Boom Broadcasting YouTube channel, hosted by Mouthing Off with Mike. Now, if you're watching Raw on Netflix, you were one of three groups. One of them were the diehards. The diehards, like watches wrestling as much as I do. You have the posters, you have the action figures, you have the Funko Pops. You might even have your own custom made title that was gifted to you by one of the viewers of the Drop the Mic Wrestling podcast. Shout out to you, Jason. I appreciate you greatly. You're a diehard. You watch everything that you can get your hands on, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a diehard. I love my wrestling. If you know me, you know I'm watching Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Any pay-per-view that's on, I'm watching. Any old pay-per-view I'm reminiscing about. Any lingo I have is probably wrestling related. Nothing wrong with that. But when having Raw on Netflix and the debut, they didn't have diehards in mind. You know why? Because that first episode for a diehard would be Penta debuting. That would be Becky Lynch returning. Neither of those two things happened. It didn't. A lot of diehards thought, oh, Paul Heyman is going to cost Solo Sikoa. Oh, The Rock is going to cost either Solo or Roman the Ula Fala. And he's going to continue as the final boss, the heel Rock. You're looking, you're like, Seth Rollins could have an alliance with Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens and, cost CM Punk in the main event of Monday Night Raw. You could go about it so many different ways. The returns, the debuts, and for a diehard, you need that surprise pop, right? Raw on Netflix really didn't have the surprise pop extravagance that we thought it should have had. And that's okay. Because they were appealing to two sets of audience. One, you have your casual fans. The ones who will occasionally watch WrestleMania or occasionally watch Monday Night Raw if it's on and if nothing else is on, like Monday Night Football, which this was our first Monday in about 4 months without Monday Night Football. You have your casuals who know The Undertaker, who know Stone Cold, who heard John Cena was coming back. So why not do that? Why not see John Cena? See what he's got. Oh, The Rock is coming back? Sure, I'll watch The Rock. These are casual fans. Nothing better to do on a Monday. You hear and see all the people on social media talking about it. Hey, let's check this out. Or you're wanting to, Netflix and chill rather, and you're like going through the channels and you're like, oh, Raw's on Netflix? Let me see what's up with that. It's live streaming. Let's see if Netflix is having trouble live streaming, right? So we're going to click the remote. We're going to watch Monday Night Raw because, maybe you watched it when you were like 5 or 6 and had a different perspective of Monday Night Raw or sports entertainment in general. There were a lot of those people. I was in group chats and people were commenting. I'm like, I didn't know we had wrestling fans in here. And they're like, more casual. He's like, this is my favorite. And they're posting a GIF of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Okay. There were a lot of people who tuned in for that. And then you have your new audience. You have your new audience and the new fans, which is why you move to Netflix. If you are scrolling on a Monday night in the past, and you may not get past your local channels, the ABCs, the NBCs, Fox. You may not get past the ESPNs, the Fox Sports, or, You may get into the movie channels, or you may just honestly just be done with cable and go to your streaming services like Netflix, not like Hulu, like Peacock, Paramount, HBO Max, so on and so forth. For WWE to move to Netflix, and this is why diehards need to get out of this closed-minded frame of what they think wrestling should be, because it's always been this way. And if you know me, I'm more traditionalist. I am terrible with change, and I've learned how to adapt when change is needed, when change is necessary. And I actually kind of like it, because it helps me out. It makes me realize, hey, there's more than one way to do things. When WWE decided, hey, let's move our flagship brand away from cable, like the entire world's been doing the last 10 years, and let's move to the streaming service. If Netflix is offering us $500 million to do it, let's just do it, right? Well, with that comes a new audience. Wrestling is in a boom period, guys. We are past the days of flipping from Nitro to Raw on Monday nights. We are past those days where you're trying to get the highest ratings, the 4s, the 5s, the 6s. We're past that. You know what success is measured by in 2025? How much your social media engagement is, how your YouTube numbers look, streaming numbers, how many people are tweeting about you, how many people are posting about you. And yes, you will always have ticket sales being a huge factor. Well, guess what? This Monday Night Raw was close to being sold out. Very close. The only empty seats I usually saw was behind the camera view, and it was pretty much to place celebrities in the front row for nice little cameos. Those were the empty seats I saw. So very close to sold out show in LA in the Intuit Dome, which is already forward thinking as it is. And you're on Netflix, and if people want to see, and there's always this hype about Raw and Netflix live streaming. They couldn't do the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, so they did NFL Christmas Day. So you're going to have people who just want to rip Netflix because they can't handle live streaming, right? Which is such an old joke. That was so 2 months ago. Get over it. So you go over to Netflix, you go and click on Monday Night Raw to see if they can live stream, because you're more focused on that. And then all of a sudden you see The Rock. I know The Rock. He's been in a lot of movies. I see The Undertaker. Everybody recognizes The Undertaker. Everybody recognizes Hulk Hogan. Now, I personally, as much as I don't want to bash the guy, I don't want to stoop to that level. I was not a fan of Hulk Hogan showing up. As a diehard, I don't think people who aren't diehard, I think nobody wanted Hulk Hogan to show up except the people who are going to make a profit off his real American beer. Just being honest with you. But you get The Rock. You get The Undertaker. You have CM Punk. And you're starting to see, Roman Reigns. You're seeing all these celebrities. All the celebrities, the TV stars, the music icons, Travis Scott. You see all these people in the crowd. You see all these people interacting backstage. Gabriel Iglesias, Mr. Fluffy himself. And you just realize Monday Night Raw is bigger because it is on Netflix. And if you're a new fan and you're seeing all these celebrities that you know and look up to, and it's like, why celebrities go in the commercial route? Why do you need a commercial celebrity endorsement? Well, because people look up to their celebrities. And if their celebrity is indulging in something, you're more inclined to do so yourselves, how many Vanessa Hudgens fans were in there? How perfect was it that wrestling's last big period was in the 90s, and of course, they bring Topanga. And of course, let's not forget Eric Matthews onto the show. Like, that's Boy Meets World. That's 90s icons right there watching Monday Night Raw. So I think Raw on Netflix was very good. I mean, it served its purpose. You wanted to introduce a brand new audience, new eyeballs to Monday Night Raw. If you script that show to appeal to just diehards and continuing the story from last week and 2 weeks ago, if you really direct that show to diehards, new fans are lost. Casual fans are, more stuck in like, this isn't like the 90s. I don't know what's going on. I don't know all these characters. But you have Dominic Mysterio, son of Rey Mysterio. Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan. You have Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, The Rock. You have Cody Rhodes show up. You have Kevin Owens. You have CM Punk, Seth Rollins. Okay. You have Jay Uso, Drew McIntyre. And we have Siri talking to us right now because we ain't editing this, right? We got Siri, watching and listening to Monday Night Raw, and he's listening to the Drop the Mic Wrestling podcast on Boom Broadcasting. If they only appeal to diehards, you lose the whole purpose. You move to Netflix, which is to expand the brand, expand the audience. And at the end of the day, that is what WWE bought, was advertising, marketing, a new demographic to reach out to. And so Raw on Netflix, yeah, you didn't get Becky Lynch. Yeah, you didn't get Penta, but you know what you're going to get next week? You are going to get Penta. When does Becky Lynch show up? If she shows up at the Royal Rumble, you know what's going to happen? You're going to pop just as hard, if not harder, because diehards will pop for whatever surprise because they know the product and they're rewarded for knowing. They want to be. Raw on Netflix just wasn't your night. And you got to be okay with that. If you were stuck in your ways about, hey, there was one wrestling match per hour. Cool. Well, actually, there was a little more than one. But you know what happened with those matches? They weren't 5-minute quickies like you would see on a normal Raw. They actually had depth to them. It felt like a pay-per-view. A pay-per-view is 3 hours and usually has 5 matches. This was a premium live event-esque show with 4 matches. And some pretty big ones. You saw the culmination of Tribal Combat. You saw the culmination of Liv and Rhea. You saw just the tip of the iceberg with Seth Rollins and CM Punk. You saw The Rock there. You saw The Undertaker there. Let's be honest. This was a premium live event, and you should have been used to it. You should have been used to it. Because guess what? This is what a premium live event looks like anyways, with the added additions of all the celebrity and, favorite GOAT cameos that we got. So if you didn't like it, I'm sorry. Next week's Raw will be very interesting. Will it look like a Raw from 2 weeks ago? Will it look like last week? Will it look more like a blend? So only time will tell how WWE adjusts to Netflix. But I can almost be assured it's going to look pretty good. And I can't wait to dissect it all on the Drop the Mic Wrestling podcast. We also have other wrestling content for you guys. I mentioned the Nightcap, which is still available on demand. It was a live stream immediately following Monday Night Raw on Netflix this past week. And we also have Wrestling of Destiny, Sean Lucas bringing out his wrestling podcast on Saturday mornings. I know he's chopping at the bit to talk about Raw on Netflix as well, so we'll see what he does. He also does a TV review podcast that drops on Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. I'm excited to see what he does. We still have some content creators. They took some of their vacations over the last couple of weeks like I did. Some of them are taking this week, like Chris with Dugout Debrief, with Shannon with Quick Hits, just depending on what they needed for their family and their friends and their loved ones. So we're appreciative of them and of all our content creators. And guys, I'm appreciative of you. Thank you so much for watching the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. And if you haven't subscribed, just hit that subscribe button. It's free, but it just shows support to myself and our entire content creation team and allows us to bring you more content. So thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. We got to get out of here, and I'll catch you here. Guys, I'll catch you here next week on another Wrestling Wednesday Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. Take care, and I'll see you soon.